Good afternoon, all you Superkickin with Steven fans. Glad to be here. Ready to rock and roll. Ready to talk up Raw, Smackdown, all the good stuff. We got my good friend Greg there. How you doing today, Greg? Oh, let me get some headphones that actually work. Just a second. Oh. Try this again. This is great. All right. Check. Can you hear me? Oh, no, I can't hear you. Let's see. All right, I'm good over here. Can you hear me okay? Oh, I can't hear you. We'll get this all figured out, friends. Don't worry. Okay. I'll talk a little bit while you see if we can get that all sorted out. So, Raw Smackdown happened this week. We had some AEW news. We have NXT. There's also, news with Charlotte Flair, news with Mickie James. She was given a trash bag of her stuff, which is horrible. And Mark Carrano is out, who a lot of you will know from Total Divas. Obviously, something happened there because surely you don't send somebody's belongings in a trash bag stuffed in a box. So, yes, that was a very horrible look. Tough week for WWE and Triple H, John Laurinaitis, Stephanie McMahon all had to come out and kind of, clean up that mess with Mickie James. I still think we'll see her back probably in the next couple years in a Hall of Fame run, and hopefully they'll make good on whatever happened there. So, a lot of other internal news, internal moves happened with WWE, but I don't really care about that because if it doesn't affect the TV product, then what's really the point of us talking about it right now? So, other than that, I thought Raw got a little bit back on the right page with what they are doing this past Monday night. SmackDown had another excellent show last night and very interesting matchup headed to next week. We got 3 matchups, I believe, 2 or 3 matchups announced for next week. So I always like when they announce ahead of time of what's going on, so we kind of give a feel for where things are headed. And even Raw announced, we're going to get Drew McIntyre, Braun Strowman going against T-Bar and Mace again, since the previous match ended in a disqualification. So interesting stuff there. And of course, we still have Backlash happening on May 16th, I believe it is, or May 15th, 16th. So in May. And then I believe we'll be on the road to Extreme Rules and Money in the Bank. I believe those are next. And then SummerSlam. So I'm really interested to see how this summer unfolds. I think, we'll start picking up here in the next couple weeks, especially after Backlash, and see, who's headed for, Money in the Bank and all that. And Greg is going to check on his stuff, and hopefully he'll be back to join us. So I'll kind of get started on some of this on the Raw news, and then he could catch up with us as soon as he gets everything sorted out. I thought I couldn't hear him. Maybe it was his end, maybe it was my end, but hopefully we'll get that all figured out. So, first off, we did have Mace and T-Bar attack Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre was out there on Raw to start the night, really talking up, his match with Bobby Lashley, but also bringing up, what. All right. So we got, Drew McIntyre out there. We had MVP come out there, talk up today. T-Bar and Mace are not affiliated with me at all. But then as soon as, Drew McIntyre came down the ramp, he got attacked by Mace and T-Bar. So there you go. There we go. We got our good friend Tom Racker in the building. Thank you for joining us. You can check him on Checkers and Wreckers every few days. It feels like a lot of iRacing stuff. So glad to see him. We saw him a couple times live in person too. So there you go, virtually and in person this week. So Mason T-Bar, not affiliated with MVP, but I think they will be. And, we'll talk about what happened later on with them because I definitely want Greg's thoughts on the unmasking of them and if we keep that because they probably need to do that. So next up, we had the Viking Raiders defeat Charlotte Flair. I was getting ready to talk about Charlotte Flair. Viking Raiders defeated Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin for the second week in a row. This one was even a quicker match. So, it's a way to rebuild the Viking Raiders. This is where I think we do need jobber matches back. I think we need, just two local. I guess with COVID right now, it's probably hard to get, two local talents, but, find, just maybe find some guys from the PC, just throw them in a match. But if it feels like kind of worthless to throw out Cedric Alexander, Shelton Benjamin out there. Me and Greg talked about this last week. I think it'd be great if Ali could get those two guys together with him. And that would almost feel like a real life retribution because there was no reason to break up the Hurt Business. I guess we got to move on because they've already done it. But, we broke up the Hurt Business with no plan for Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. And now they're losing to the Viking Raiders 2 weeks in a row. And it just doesn't feel like anything's there for them. It feels like they probably should just move on to main event and get, lost in the shuffle yet again for Cedric Alexander. Shelton Benjamin has a run before, but this is Cedric Alexander's really time to shine. He is in the prime of his, kind of time right now, and he should be doing more. He did great on 205 Live, and there's something there with him, and obviously he should be doing better than what he is. So, all right, let's try this again. Let's bring on Greg. All right, I hear crackling, so that's a good sign. There we go. And I hear the laugh. All right, Greg, how are you?
Go. I'm good, brother, man. I've been looking forward to it all week, man. Talking shop.
Awesome.
Having some fun. Man, this is like the best month for sports so far. We imagine we just had WrestleMania. We've had crazy UFC fights going on already. We got NBA. We got the draft coming up next week. We got so much content to go over. Being a sports fan, this is money this month.
Mm-hmm. Especially since the summer, really things slow down. So it's kind of interesting that even though now, I guess with the NBA moving, playing through July, we'll actually have a pretty good, summertime to catch a game in the middle of the Saturday or Sunday. So, real quick side note, it was nice last week, last Sunday, the Pacers played at 1. And I was like, man, this is awesome. Just catching a basketball game on a Sunday at 1. I miss those old days of NBA on NBC when stuff would be on at noon. But anyways, that's another story for another day. So I was just starting off with Raw and, Mace and T-Bar attacked Drew McIntyre for the second week in a row. They're still not saying they're affiliated with MVP, but I think we see that they're probably heading towards that. Correct?
Looks like it. They have to be repackaged, and that was, I'm sure, part of why they unmasked. Easy for me to say, unmasked them. And we said that last week that they need to get rid of the masks and create a new identity. I noticed the announcers didn't acknowledge who they were, even though all of us know who they are. We know who Dijakovic is, and I know who Dio Madden is, even though I haven't seen a match of his aside from the whole retribution gimmick. But now it's time to put some more layers to the story. And I still don't get the visual with those two and MVP and Lashley. They don't fit that Hurt Business mold, but I don't know. That's why they make the big bucks to figure out how to make it work. So I will be watching to see how they make it develop. So hopefully it's something good. I'm rooting for it.
And it's not, and I guess with Lashley, it's like he doesn't need the backup. So it's like, why would you put these two hulking guys with him? Whereas Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander, they needed that Lashley rub to get them where they need to be. And it helped them a lot. And I was just talking about them, like, we just had the Viking Raiders defeat them for a second time now. And I was talking about, I don't know why we can't just find jobbers. This is the Viking Raiders just coming back. This is the time that it makes me miss a job, just a squash match. Like to recreate, kind of get them back going. Because you just beat Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. And last week we talked about it. It went through a commercial break, which I was kind of surprised. But then this week, they just kind of beat them, in 5-6 minutes, it felt like. It was a very quick and to the point match. I don't know why you can't get two guys from the PC and just, let they're obviously training. So, I just don't know. I mean, we brought it up last week. If Ali could just speak up and be like, hey, just give me these two guys. Let us run with it. I think that could be something for all three of them. It'd be a real life retribution for them. So, any thoughts on the Viking Raiders rolling through them again?
Yeah, it puts a shine on the Viking Raiders because Shelton and Cedric were, a good tag team. They were decent. They were, passable. You could put the championships on them and they'd be believable. Did we think they're going to hold the belts very long? No, but they're legitimate. So when the Viking Raiders come out and smash them in two matches 2 weeks in a row, gives them some credit, gives them some steam. But I agree with your point that we could have easily taken two guys that we don't know their names, Stephen Jones from down the street that they do for some of the other talents. Mm-hmm. And the result would have been the same. They still would have looked great. And you don't take credit away from Cedric and Shelton, who are, when they get time, they are legitimate and they can put down a great match. So you're definitely doing them a disservice. I, for one, am missing the days of the Mulkey Boys, because who didn't love to see the Mulkeys get smashed? But yeah, we're definitely not doing them any service, and it affects the show as a whole because next time you try to put those two against somebody else, they're already going to take that match as a bathroom break because, why should we watch this?
And I mean, Cedric using the prime Alexander, like he is in the prime of his career right now. Like this is the time to cash on him. I've always liked the guy from the CWC back in the day. And when Triple H came out and like raised his hand and they signed him they had to say a lot. So hopefully, we like Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali tore it up on 205 Live there for, half a year when 205 Live, actually people were tuning in. Now it just shows up and I guess it's doing stuff, but it's nowhere near where it used to be. So, and Shelton Benjamin, yeah, he still has time left in him, but he also had a run previously. He got to wrestle with Shawn Michaels. I mean, his super, yes, he got super kicked by Shawn Michaels, but that will live on. Like that's always replayed. Like that's something he can. It's not the best to hold on to, but hey, it's better than Cedric Alexander right now, who has, getting his hand raised by Triple H, and that's it. Even though he was, the heart of 205 Live there for a little bit. So I hope that maybe down the road, maybe, fall time, we can get them back going. But like I said, I think if they all just go to Vince and be like, hey, we want to hook up with Ali, let us just run with it. If it fails, it fails. And that's the thing I think with WWE right now. It's like this summertime thing, I think, is when you try stuff. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, because it's not the biggest season, right? Money in the Bank used to be, but even now, like we talked about, Money in the Bank is starting to lose a little bit of luster with guys failing to cash in and Otis winning it, which, Otis should have never won anything of any sorts like that. So, anyways. And next up, we had Charlotte Flair talking up, her war of words with Rhea Ripley and Asuka. Any thoughts on kind of this segment? We're just building Charlotte as the heel again and trying to get her more. She's now going, I guess, by the opportunity, which it is what it is. But how we dig in Charlotte Flair right now in her new role as this, you're going to go through me before anybody else.
Yeah, Charlotte, just like her dad, was better as a bad guy. And it gives them more freedom. It lets them work more loose and just drive the action. And it's going to get to a point where we all want to see Charlotte lose. And she's been built up as the indomitable heel character, and for good reason. She is that good. And the list of women who can legitimately beat her is very small. But that being said, Asuka is definitely one of them. And I think they're building Rhea to be one of them. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do this. Obviously, they're going to be intertwined. It's a three-person event for the next foreseeable future, at least another month or two. And hopefully there's some good storytelling happen right here because, it's just there. You have the ingredients. Now you have to make a good dish. And it can be done. I hope it's done because you know how big an Asuka fan I am. Mm-hmm. And she's the perfect babyface to Charlotte's monster heel. They have the history. It's all there. And then you have Rhea there. Where does she go? Is she the tweener character? Is she going to straddle both sides of the fence? I'm curious to see what they're going to do with her because there's so much potential with this whole storyline and with Rhea. But as Justice Emily, it can be destructive to Rhea's development. And I don't think we want to see that because she's new, she's a fresh face, she looks good, and done right, this can be like the best storyline on the whole show.
And right now, this is the top three women you got on Raw. I feel like you're going to have to roll with it, like you said, through summer, almost, at least some sort of variation, whether it's Rhea Ripley and Asuka going at it again on like Extreme Rules, or Charlotte and Rhea Ripley, or Charlotte and Asuka. Like, I feel like all of these, like you said, it's going to be intertwined, at least have Money in the Bank to see which side of the fence, will the person go for. Because right now, everybody else is going for the tag team titles on Raw. I feel, all the other women aren't even, up there right now. So please come back, Becky Lynch, by the way. I think Becky could really give it a shot in the arm too.
Definitely.
If Becky showed up like right before SummerSlam, I mean, and Becky's one of those I think you could slide her in anywhere now. It doesn't, it's like Charlotte. Charlotte is that same, Charlotte could be dealing with Lacey Evans and trying to make the best of that, or she could try to be in the title picture. I think Charlotte really has earned that. You're going to put her wherever, and it hopefully will be better for the person with her, and it can do whatever it can for her. So next up, maybe the surprise of the night, Matt Riddle defeated Randy Orton. I really thought Orton was going to win by some sort of way. Now, like we always said, how do you follow this up? Because that's going to be the important. If we just have Riddle win this week and then Orton just beats him, then what was the point? So hopefully Riddle can, even if Orton maybe beats him by DQ next week or something, and then Backlash, if Riddle picks up the win, because if we might be doing this for Backlash, it looks like. If Riddle could pick up that win, I think Riddle is in a better spot, and we can maybe, like you've said before, we could take him serious. We can find some sort of momentum for him. So do you believe this is a one-off win for him, or do we think that maybe Riddle could move up because of this heel feud with Orton?
No, this is what I'm talking about right here. The last couple of weeks, making him more legit, making him put down some good matches, getting rid of the clown stuff, not wholly, but reducing all the clown stuff he's been doing, the backstage, the clueless surfer dude, bro, and have the NXT Riddle resurface more. The guy who can really throw down. You see some anger out of him. See him uh, really bringing it, and he hasn't done that since he came up to the main roster. But since WrestleMania, they've been turning around. Actually, right before WrestleMania, and the few matches he had since then, you've seen a difference. He's still doing, his gimmick, with the scooter and the bad puns on the backstage interviews. But when he gets to you in the ring, you see a little more serious. You see a little more aggressive. And that match last week was great match. I enjoyed watching it, and like you, I thought he was going to take the L, but it was a very nice surprise to see him get the win. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. A little roll up for the win, I'll take it. But it just shows the kid is not as dumb as he's being projected to be. Be able to turn the RKO into a roll up the way he did. You figure we've seen every move combination possible, especially as far as it goes to RKO counters. But that was the first time I've ever seen that. So, props to him, props to whoever came up with that finish. That was a great finish. Anybody who didn't see it, say go and pull it up on YouTube or wherever, because it was a great sequence. And that's what I'm talking about right there. We need to get that going for him. And you see this guy can move up to mid to upper card status. He's that good. I mean, I saw him fight in the UFC and know the guy can go. The guy's really legit. And they keep rolling with this. Then you got something. You got another match that can carry, one of the top 3 spots of a pay-per-view card.
And like we said, even if he maybe gets a universal title down the road shot and he loses, I feel like if you build him up the right way, he could still look okay out of it. Like him and Lashley put on a pretty good match there for what the time was. So maybe down the road, and it could be one of those like summer feuds just to give Lashley something before Brock or whoever for SummerSlam. Because that's the thing too. It's like we got to figure out what is Lashley going to do. If Lashley's right now, it looks like Lashley might hold it through SummerSlam at least, and what's going to be next for him. So tag team title picture for the women's side of things. We got Naomi and Lana defeating Nia and Jax, Shayna Baszler, because Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke come out, throw more, pictures of Nia. Nia wants to walk off, leave Shayna Baszler to lose again. I hate to see Shayna's record because I don't even know what it is. But at this rate, we might as well throw all the women tag teams at Backlash and just let it. Nia and Shayna can lose it without being in it, and they could still have their monster force, but they could lose the titles without being pinned or whatever. But at this rate, it does feel like we'll get Naomi and Lana, Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, Natalya and Tamina after last night, and probably Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax for the tag team top. I don't know if you could throw Riot Squad in there. I mean, I still want something for them, but those 4 tag teams, as it looks like Backlash, that will be for the tag team titles. So thoughts on the women's tag team title picture right now, Greg?
I think this is finally coming to Nia and Shayna breaking up. And I am praying for it because I am tired of seeing those two. And the breadcrumbs have been left for a long time. And I'm waiting for it and waiting for it. And last week, with Nia walking off, being teased by Mandy and Dana, causing the match to lose, and then Shayna come up after the match and go, "You better get right or else." I want to see the Shayna who can back up the or else, because her taking the L every week is unacceptable. She is much better than that. She's been so defined down that it's stupid. They deserve better. They should be broken up and put into the women's title picture. Because throwing those two in the mix with Charlotte and Asuka and Rhea would be great matchups, and it would add so much depth almost instantly. And not to mention Nia and Shayna going against each other in the final blow-off, so we know that it's for real. They're not coming back together. I want to see that, and I think that's what's going to serve everybody better. As far as the rest of the tag teams to go, it's all seems kind of like a bunch of minor league teams. Mandy and Dana haven't really done anything. The Riot Squad is the most proven. That's in the mix. Natty and Tamina have just been thrown together, even though they look good together. The matches have been pretty decent. And who's the other team?
Naomi and Lana.
Yep, yeah,
The
talking about
Glow
together.
Squad.
Yeah. All of a sudden, Lana's good now. Is that what we're believing?
I mean, she hasn't looked bad. I think
I know, but before she got injured and by Nia and Shayna, she had 2 left feet, and now she's back and she's good. And she's good enough to be in a tag team with Naomi, who's had the championship before. So I don't buy it. I don't like it, but they got to get on TV somehow. So for all intents and purposes, I would throw my flag behind the Riot Squad just because they have the most traction as a tag team and actually look the most reasonable. And then them and Naomi and Tamina, Tamina and Natalia would probably be the good start to the new tag team title scene.
And if you give it to Natty and Tamina, I feel like they could go across brands, and they have, Natalia has she wrestled at Charlotte in NXT, so it feels like they'll just put it on them. And like we said, if that gets the tag team titles off Shayna and Nia, to put them with the Raw tag team or Raw women's title picture, I think that would help. That gives Rhea Ripley and Shayna Baszler time for one-on-one. It gives Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax one-on-one, or triple threat. I feel like because we need some more, Charlotte and Asuka, yes, but we also need some new blood in that Raw women's title picture because we got to figure out who's going to be next. So we're always looking for who's next, but. And
just throwing Nia and Shayna in that picture, just juicy matchups everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Charlotte and Nia has been way overdue. Remember, Nia's the one who put Charlotte on the shelf. They haven't paid that off. They really haven't paid Asuka and Shayna off because their one match since Shayna kicked her tooth out was interrupted. That hasn't been paid off. Rhea and all of them against Nia and Shayna and Charlotte. It's all juicy matchups that we have not seen before, and that's what we want. We want stuff we haven't seen before. And those two face off, and there's a crowd in there. All the crowd is going to go, ooh. They're that caliber. That's what we want to see. So let's have that.
Exactly. So hopefully, like we said, maybe Nia and Shayna lose it at Backlash. They break up, they fight at a Raw or whatever, and let that go. Maybe they take each other out at Money in the Bank or something like that, and we can move on from all this. Damian Priest disrupted Miz and Mrs. celebration on Miz TV. Damian Priest beats the Miz later on in the night. So, like we said last week, the roll-up win by Miz with, Maurice helping him, we didn't think was going to mean much other than it just shows that 2-on-1 Damian Priest was going to lose, which he probably should lose to former tag team champions, a world heavyweight champion in Morrison, a 2-time WWE champion Miz. I mean, IC champions forever. So, why would they not be able to beat him with the help of Maurice? And then Maurice tried to help this time, and then it got, caught or whatever. So I think we do see Damian Priest and Miz and Morrison probably at Backlash, and then Damian Priest beats both of them. So Damian Priest can keep racking up wins. But any thoughts on Damian Priest's segment with The Miz? I thought he held his own. I really do think Damian Priest, personally, to me, has looked better on the main roster than in NXT. I feel like he was just waiting for that moment to get to the main roster and really just be like, here I am. NXT, he had his moments, but at the same time, like I always forget he was North American champion, for whatever time that was. And then, but now it feels like he's able to show personality. He shows it in the ring, and he can, he got to work with Bad Bunny, which I think is saying a lot too for where they're positioning him. So thoughts on Damian Priest and the Miz's match and all that good stuff with Damian Priest happening right now?
Yeah, it is what it is. This is a good entry-level feud for Damian Priest to get his name out, get some recognition, and the unexpected boost of that WrestleMania match they had, which was fantastic. I've already gone back and watched it again because it was that good. So his profile is getting raised, which is what you want. And I agree with you. He looks a lot better on the main roster than he did in NXT, which I don't see from many people because Vince and the boys have a tendency to, ruin what NXT had built when they cross over to the main roster. So he just kind of lost in the weeds with the whole picture down there, and now he looks better on the main roster scene. So this is a good jumping off point. From here, he'll get to higher level guys, and it's like bringing in somebody into the NXT, get the feet wet, get a couple good matches out of them, and build some credit, build some equity, and get him moving forward, get some momentum on him, and you can shoot him up the roster a little bit, depending on how people are looking at him, how those ratings are looking when he's in the ring. He looks like $1 million. Can he carry his load in the ring? And I've never been a big fan of his, but I'm starting to like it more. And he's just gonna, like the rest of us, keep working his craft, putting down good matches, and his fan base is going to build. So I'm optimistic about the guy. I'm not in love with him yet, but what he's doing so far, I'm liking it.
And I think down in NXT, it felt like they never defined him. Like when he won the North American, he was doing that whole celebration in the back of a limo with the three late, but then he was always this dark character. So it's like, what were you? I think now they're just like, here he is, And I'm thinking, maybe U.S. title by SummerSlam. I mean, him and Sheamus could put on a good match there, if Sheamus still holds the title. And maybe we could treat the U.S. title like the IC title of old. You give him a good U.S. title run and then lose it and then bump up to that main event. Imagine that old school booking, like they're thinking with Big E and Cesaro down, on SmackDown side of things. Like that feels like how they're doing with them. So maybe Damian Priest is kind of in that line that, finally, let's try to do the whole just work your way up. And then, when it's time, the crowd will be ready for it. And, he seems like he'll be ready at any time, honestly. But, we'll kind of see where it goes. Elias defeated Kofi Kingston. Do we anything there? I got nothing. Like, I guess we're just going to get Elias and Jackson Riker against New Day for, 10,000 matches in a row. But I was kind of surprised with this matchup. So what do you got, Greg, for us?
Yeah, this was a bigger surprise than Riddle beating Randy Orton in my book because, there's been no reason to believe that Elias was going to win anything. I don't remember the last match he won. And beat Kofi, we had Kofi Mania, just 3 years ago?
2 years ago. Yep.
2 years ago. And he's beaten Kofi almost clean. A little distraction right there, but still, the fact he was able to beat him at all is a huge shock. So that was the holy crap moment in the show for me. I'm not against it as much as, if it leads to something. If this is like a one-off, fluke win, then what's the point? Having Riker and Elias rivalry with New Day can be good because they're the straight characters to the New Day and the fun and jokes, so they're the opposite, and it makes for some, that's what makes the best promos. But does anybody really think that they can beat the New Day? So I hope there's a wrinkle that they're building to that we're not seeing yet. But this was definitely the weirdest match on the card and definitely the oddest result. So I'm not gonna say I hate it, even though I want to. But we can revisit it in a couple weeks, and if it's building to something, then I'm for it. I'm all about the story development. But this was definitely the weirdest moment in the show.
I mean, it feels like this is going to be the whole next opponent for AJ and Omos. But do we want to see AJ and Omos going against Elias and Riker? Like, I don't. Two heel tag teams at each other doesn't. I don't think it works that well, unless you have two really strong teams. But you just put AJ Styles and Omos together, and Elias and Riker I'm just kind of iffy on. So it's like I feel like New Day is going to have to come out on top because we're going to have to get the rematch with AJ Styles and Omos at Backlash.
Right. So maybe it's just a build up to like the pay-per-view card, the Backlash, and then everything course corrects, and we get New Day back on course for AJ again. That's the only thing that makes sense. But
we just don't have a tag team division on. Like, we have one, but it's just the tag team division. Just like, I don't know what we got to do. Like, it's just hard to figure out how to fix it. Well, really, Miz and Morrison probably should be more tagging together and building up things. And we had Cedric Alexander, Shelton Benjamin. I guess we do have Viking Raiders, so the Viking Raiders could be the summer program. And we didn't even see. And if I'm right, or if my memory's right, AJ and Omos haven't been on the past 2 weeks, have they?
No, they haven't been on since WrestleMania.
So it's like they won, and now they're not even on TV. So I'm like, okay, but yeah, unless it's just for the Viking Raiders to take the titles off them. So it's kind of a mess right now in the tag team division, honestly, with Raw, and that kind of sucks because tag teams should be so much built up, so much better than what they are. So, anyways, we'll move on because we had now Alexa Bliss and her new friend Lily, who helped her get retribution against a mean little girl back in the day. Yes, I'm laughing about this because it's just I'm just taking it for what it is. But I want to know if Alexa Bliss will turn into Lily at some point, or I want to know how Lily's going to be used, because this is kind of catching my interest because I think it is so different for Alexa Bliss. How about you, Greg? Is this catching any of your interest, or is this way too out there for you?
I'm interested in the same way that you're interested to see if the car wreck that's causing the 45-minute pilot backup is worth it.
Like rubbernecking?
Right. Another creepy doll. Great. The curiosity is that we haven't seen it done with a female character.
Mm-hmm.
So she's going to be like a female fiend now, and they have just come out like Lily. So, that's the rubbernecking part. But we've seen this movie before, but with different characters. It's like when they redid Pet Sematary and had it with a little girl instead of a little boy. And that, we're curious what the differences are going to be. And now this was, I've been enjoying Alexa's new character and the whole evil, especially the matches she did when they were doing the little camera tricks, and she is going through the different stages of Alexa in one match. I thought that was, pretty fun, and in this era, you can pull that off. You can pull it off with a live audience, but um, so there's a morbid curiosity in it, and I hope they can, make it something legit. Because if she becomes like a female fiend, I'd be interested in seeing that. But I'm not optimistic about what they're doing with her and the doll. The whole backstory about the little girl was pretty corny and basic. We've heard that before for sure, but it's all in what they do with it. So if they can make something of it, I'm here for it. But I don't have much optimism in it at this moment. So hopefully in 2 weeks I can tell you different.
It probably hurts her a little bit because you have her on Raw doing all this, and then you have her on Instagram holding hands with her fiance at like Disney World or something, or out, and it's like that, and I get it, they're people, we know that. But back, if this was 10 years ago, she probably had to keep she probably doesn't post on Instagram, she doesn't post on social media, it's an interesting topic. Like Bray Wyatt is good about, we see Bray post on Instagram, the cryptic stuff and all that. Now there's been every once in a while he's might have, posted his, girlfriend JoJo and a baby or whatever, but it's not all the time. It's just like Charlotte posting her and Andrade now like every other day on Instagram, and I'm like, come on, like let's keep, you grew up in the kayfabe era, like come on, Charlotte, you need to know. And it's tough with me for Alexa because, like I said, it's like her, with Ryan Cabrera, like hanging out at the beach, like 10 minutes after, Raw or whatever, like the next day. And I'm like, come on, you got to, give the character some life, but, and it's tough. That's what's tough. And part of me hates it because I love seeing their personal lives now because it kind of peels away that curtain. But then I also think, well, for some of these characters, I don't want to know the personal, you want to keep the personal side personal, but it's an interesting time the past few years with Twitter, with social media, and peeling back that layer of their real life. Because like I said, I kind of want to see it, but then I also don't. It's a hard thing for me to do. But speaking
I agree
of,
with you.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I agree with you. I was thinking about that the other day. It's like I wish we didn't have so much access to these guys, and that social media wasn't such a thing. Because I miss kayfabe. I miss, when that show was over, you believe that guy was still that guy off camera, and not going on a game show or, guest hosting Jeopardy or something. And these guys are, posting their personal lives, and I don't want to see it. I miss the days when we could just believe that they are that character. It's kind of like seeing your teacher out of school. It's like, what are you doing here? Don't you live in the school? The same thing with these guys. Like, you should be, in the building, living in the ring or something. It's unreasonable, but, that's the way we like to believe it. They are as they are on screen. And especially with some of these characters, the darker ones, the ones you want to believe have some otherworldly powers. Like the Undertaker only came out with all this, in the last year or two, and until then, you never saw a picture of him. You never heard an interview with him, and the guy's been around for 30 years almost. And that's the way you should do it. I mean, if you got a character has that mystique about him, that aura about him, I don't want to see him, going on vacation with his wife, if somebody told me, Undertaker's married, and it's like, well, I can believe that, but I don't want to see it. And so, especially with some of these characters, Alexa's character, there's some characters that have that, dark side of them and believe that they're that, evil and sinister being, then I don't want to see you at the beach. I don't want to see you in the theme park, having fun with a goofy hat on. Depending on your character, should be how you use your social media. if you need to be, dark and evil, don't show your happy side. If you're gonna post anything, show more dark and evil stuff, or say more dark and evil stuff. So, you know, but we're not in that age anymore, which is sad because it takes away from the product as a whole. Um, so I think I wish it or wrestlers would be more mindful of that, in because it's defining down the whole business across the board.
And I guess the easy answer for me is, oh, people be like, just delete your Twitter. You don't have to see anything. But it's like, well, I fall for other stuff too. And I think, like you said, maybe they could create a profile for their character and then have a
Right.
private profile for their real life or something. And who knows? Maybe it's come from the top. Maybe the top is saying, well, we want to see more of your lives because they know how the world is now. So it's hard to know where they're getting the direction from because it is that whole, and like some of these guys, they're thinking about after wrestling. Like Xavier Woods is
Yeah.
trying to build a brand because you can't wrestle forever. We all know that. It's like Stone Cold. Like he said, he retired, and he's like, now what? It's because they're going to need something. So part of me thinks, well, a lot of them now are being smart in that. They're probably saving money somehow, or they're building their brand for the next life, which might not have. It definitely didn't happen back in the day. That's why we still see Brutus Beefcake Barber having to do a signing at a mall or whatever. We have to
Right.
see Boogeyman dressing up in full gear to do a 10-minute signing at Cricket Wireless. So part of me is like, it's just a weird. Obviously, this is totally off from Raw, but hey, it's a good conversation, and I would like to revisit this later on down the road because I think it'd be a really good, talk about what has changed and all that. So, Mason T-Bar defeated technically Drew McIntyre, Braun Strowman by disqualification. Braun came out there to help Drew because remember we were supposed to see Braun and Randy Orton go at it, but that didn't happen because plans changed. But they took off the mask. What did somebody did Braun slap Mace with his, I think, or somebody slapped one or the other pretty good, it seemed like
Yeah.
that. I hope that thing was rubbery or something because he got it pretty good. The other one threw it. And it, like you brought up earlier, it's funny that Corey Graves was like, hey, I was just on commentary with Dio Madden back at like we know that was Dio Madden from commentary, but especially since Dio stepped up for Jerry Lawler at the time when Brock was doing the whole thing. But we didn't say their names or whatever. But I think next week they almost have to come without the mask, but they'll probably still have the mask, if that makes any sense. So what do we think of, Greg? What's your thinking on what do we see next week for the rematch of these tag teams going at it?
Well, they need to continue on it. The masks are off. We know what you look like. We know who you are. Now is the time to come out in that first couple segments and reintroduce yourself. And, you're in retribution because you've been, put on the shelf or mistreated or whatever. State your case, build your story, rebuild yourself, rebuild your brand. And now this is my partner giving his story. This is why we're together. Boom, you got something. You get the story from the ground up, and that's how you get support. That's how this is always people who like to root for the bad guy. And these guys are going to be the bad guys for the foreseeable future. But if you can give them a decent story, people are going to get behind it. And there's going to be people on their side, there can be people on the other side. And when that's all you want is for everybody to be invested when they're watching the match. Give everybody something to pull for. And so that's what I want to see is them continuing on the narrative of Dio and Dijakovic or whatever you're going to rename them because you need to rename them. They're not in Retribution anymore. And let them take this and carry it forward themselves. Let them build their own brand, kind of like AEW does with giving them some creative control and saying, okay, this is your baby, sink or swim now. And that's going to help the storyline with these two and with Braun and Drew for the short term. I'm sure it's just going to be a quick little thing, but if you do it right, this is going to give all four men more to work with, and that's what we need. It's post WrestleMania. We need some new stuff to see. We need new matchups, and I'd like to see Braun against these two guys. I'd like to see Drew against these two guys in singles matches. It's another, four-way mix of entertaining matches, and we're all here for that. So I just hope they build on this story next week instead of putting the mask back on him and go, okay, that was a fluke.
And maybe if they do beat them down again, because last Monday they cut the promo. They were like, I think Dominic said Hornets, Wasp, or whatever. He's just said random stuff. So like you said, they need to just. I guess you're going to have to wait till they're officially done with the whole mask thing. Then we see them draw stuff. So if they keep cutting these weird, bees, bumblebees, whatever that was, it's fine. ? But then when it's time to, we need to know who they are. Then let them, take off the mask themselves, tell who they are. Dio could say, I was held down on commentary and held down at the PC or what, something like that. Just something simple. But I do think we'll get these random rattling off of just random stuff until we're ready for that moment. And well, like you said, I think it's going to be sink or swim time no matter what for them. Just because if you don't have Retribution behind you, you don't have MVP behind you, you're going to just have yourself, then it's time to sink or swim. So we did bring up Damian Priest defeat The Miz. I'll go real quick. Sheamus beat down Humberto Carrillo, so we'll probably see that matchup again. Let's just get to the main event. Asuka defeated Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair went berserk, took out some referees. Well, took off one, just went to town on him, and now she is officially suspended. Yeah, and fined $100,000. So apparently the real reason is she's getting dental work done. Okay, I don't know if you need to be off that long for dental work, but whatever. Maybe she's getting molars out or something. We don't know. But anyways, so Charlotte Flair, I will assume, is back before Backlash, probably that Monday before. Adam Pearce reinstates her, and we'll get the triple threat. Maybe we don't at that. Maybe we'll just do the rematch because we keep saying, this feels like rematch city for Backlash. So maybe we are writing her off for next month just to kind of let Asuka and Rhea Ripley finish off their stuff. So, Greg, how do you like the ending of Raw with Charlotte kind of snapping, going to town on poor referee? I forget what referee it was, but we just had her just going to town on everybody. That's the Charlotte Flair we love to see. Just the pure hatred of everybody, just beating down everybody, right?
Exactly. And another bonus is that at least Asuka can refer Charlotte to a good dentist. So it was a different ending. I mean, we've seen, the guys do it, but I think it's the first time we've seen a woman, beat down a ref to that level. So I was, happy with the match itself. One, because Asuka won. And that was the only way it was going to go anyway. But the way she did it with Rhea getting involved and further sending out the signal that, okay, the three of us are going to be, entangled for a little bit, and helping Asuka win, still straddling that fence, because she hit Asuka with a table a couple weeks ago. Is making the storyline a little more juicy. Enjoyed it, and just the fact that Charlotte reacted like that, I enjoyed it, and was surprised she took it out on the ref. But the prolonged beatdown, I think, like a lot of people, I was a little surprised by it, taken back by it, but at the same time, it's like, okay, we like it. This is what we're getting for the next foreseeable future. I'm in for it, because you need somebody who is just as she's like a female Randy Orton, just devoid of any, you know, moral as far as the length she'll go. And that makes a better match when she's standing there across from Oscar or standing there across from Rhea. And, you know, it adds to the drama, it adds to the depth of the match. So, yeah, I didn't know the reason was for dental work or whatever, but, you know, if this is the way you're going to go off, at least you're going to do it in a way that you're going to be remembered when you come back. No, not that they're not going to run the footage when she comes back, but still, we wouldn't need that when she comes back if it's before or after Backlash, because that was a pretty memorable beatdown. So I was pretty impressed by that. It was very unexpected, but I enjoyed it.
It almost felt like this was the Raw we needed after Mania instead of the Raw we got. You know, this is, we kept saying we need to move in the right direction. And this felt like they took out some of the fluff and we did kind of, you know, could things have been better? Always. You know, we always have the nitpicks on the butt. I felt like for the most part, you know, I'm going to say this is moving in the right direction for Backlash. Would you agree with that?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Whether we get a triple threat or not, these three are going to have a series of great matches. And so I'm definitely looking forward to that, you know, good headline quality matches. Mm-hmm. So everything's there. The storyline's there with Asuka and Rhea running it back in a rematch. Definitely love to see that. And then those three in a triple threat, which I think is going to end up what happens at SummerSlam. Mm-hmm. It's going to be, you know, worthy of being the main event. It won't be, but it'll be worthy of it. It'll be the next to last match, the co-main at least.
Mm-hmm. All right, so there we go. So we kind of ended Raw on a higher note, I thought, with, you know, Charlotte. And going right into SmackDown, we started SmackDown pretty hot with Cesaro. That's right, Cesaro. And I believe he tweeted out, see, this is where the power of Twitter is good. It's the first time he's ever opened up a show from his, you know, in his memory. Like he's never had, you know, now, granted, he finally got to talk after he was interrupted, you know, by Seth Rollins, then Jey Uso, and then Daniel Bryan came out to kind of back him up. But we still gave Cesaro that moment to be the focus for him, you know, and I think it's saying a lot. Like we said last week, he might not win the Universal title. He probably won't. But I think getting that rub with Roman is just going to put him on that next level. So we could see that he could be in the main event of SmackDown. He could be in the main event of a pay-per-view at any time now. So I think they're really doing a lot of good with Cesaro, which we didn't think would ever happen. I think Daniel Bryan's trying to help Cesaro out as well, because Daniel Bryan knows, you know, what else is he going to be there for? I mean, right now, Daniel Bryan's time, you know, it's kind of funny to think because Daniel Bryan's like you know, my age. I don't know how your age is, Greg, but it feels like, you know, Daniel Bryan being right at that 40-year-old range, he doesn't feel like it, honestly. It feels like he's still, you know, right at the start of his career. And he did lose some years, but it's funny to think he is going to be used in that. I'm going to put over guys. I might get a title shot here and there, but I want to put over guys. And that just says a lot about Daniel Bryan. And I think Seth Rollins is in that same vein as well. You know, I think this next year Seth is going to do more for guys as well. But so we saw a tag team match because, you know, it was two guys and two guys. I was waiting for Teddy Long to bounce out there and be like, tag team match player, but Teddy Long did not make that announcement. We just had, you know, them coming back from commercial break and saying it was going to happen. This was, I believe, 2 commercial breaks. It was almost that first 45 minutes of the night. So it's saying a lot for all 4 of these guys and where they're positioned. Cesaro and Daniel Bryan did defeat Jey Uso because Seth Rollins walked out. That's why I stopped the match there. But good opening, I thought, for what SmackDown needed. Greg, thoughts on this opening segment and matchup as well?
I really enjoyed it. I like the rolling joke of, you know, not letting Cesaro talk because we all know that's been his downfall. You know, he looks like $1 million. His in-ring work is phenomenal, but that's the whole knock on him. He can't talk on the microphone. And so last week, Roman left the ring before he even said a word. This week, he's standing in the ring, ready to start the show, and he immediately gets interrupted. So it reminds me of back in the day during the Attitude Era. Every pay-per-view, the Spanish announce table got destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like every single one without fail. And so it just seemed like it kind of every now and then you see these running jokes, and it seemed like that was one of them. But I found that very entertaining. And then the back and forth with Daniel Bryan, the four characters, and then the match itself, very good match. Enjoyed watching the match, and then the post during the whole business with the swing, and his Roman could come out and save him. And while he's swinging him, Daniel Bryan's just talking smack, and he's counting, and then he goes back and talking, and he's still swinging, and he's still swinging. And I always find that highly, highly entertaining. And, it helped everybody. It looked great, and it was one of those opening segments, and I don't get there's very much on Raw or SmackDown where the opening segment is that must see. That opening segment is being like 15 minutes. Usually you have time to go and put on the popcorn or go to the bathroom, and you're not going to really miss anything. But this is the kind that you didn't want to go anywhere because it was that entertaining. So that whole first segment, which, I think it did last almost 45 minutes, was worth it. It was so good. And that's the kind of, story development we want. That's the kind of, storytelling they should be doing across all their channels. So, I was very entertained by it and hope to see more of that.
And so we go from that awesome, entertaining segment to Nia Jax and Tamina. Actually, sorry, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler coming out first with Reggie. Reggie is back. I guess he's shopping at Seth Rollins' Emporium because I don't know what the heck he had on there, but anyways. So, and then for all the popularity that Tamina has, she got an entrance that happened during a commercial. So I love that Michael Cole's talking up Tamina and saying, oh man, the crowd was chanting for her, but then we gave her a commercial break entrance. That says all we need to know about Tamina right there. But Tamina did pick up the win over Nia Jax because Shayna Baszler and Reggie were involved with whatever was going on. I think I kind of was on my phone during some of this match. I'll be honest right now. And all I know is Tamina won because, Tamina is going to be, or Tamina and Natalya are probably in that title picture. Greg, should we move on from this, or do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, anything that's contributing to the deterioration of the Shayna and Nia team, I'm all for it. And this definitely is another one of those breadcrumbs I was telling you about. That it just keeps going and keeps going, and we're going to get our breakup hopefully sooner than later. So I'm still keeping my fingers crossed for that.
I did not mean to yawn on purpose when you were talking. That was more for the match. So I apologize that came across. But yeah, Tamina. There's just nothing for her that has ever done anything for me. I'm sorry. She's there. And you talk about probably there because of your name. It's got to be Tamina more so than Natalya, more so than Nia Jax, honestly. Because, it's funny to think how long Tamina has been on the roster, too. And she still does not receive that phone call of, hey, good luck in your future endeavors. But, that was that was almost my Laurinaitis / Vince McMahon impression, which I'm not good at impressions. But I would not be sad if Tamina did receive her stuff in a trash bag. I'll just say that, too. That's right. That's way too mean to her. I'm sorry. I should never. Sorry, Tamina, if you're watching this. You can block me on Twitter. Feel free. But anyways. Now we did kind of get it back, though. Apollo Crews defeated Kevin Owens. Pretty good match here. Commander Aziz, what's his, did I say his name right?
I think it's Aziz.
Aziz, sorry. Helped with this and then laid out Kevin Owens with the They're calling it the Nigerian nail or Samoan spike, whichever way you want to go. And then Big E laid out Apollo Crews in the back because Apollo Crews was out there for an interview, but the commander-in-chief was not there. So, good match for Kevin Owens and really selling that spike because he was spitting out stuff. And then we had Sami Zayn doing his dance out there on him, which I'll just be full disclosure. I did buy that shirt that is on Pro Wrestling Tees because the money goes to Sammy for Samaria. So cheap plug there. But anyways, so we're still probably going to get Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn going at it. We're still getting Apollo Crews and Big E going at it. And then we got our commander guy just out there in the middle of it. Greg, unpack all of this for us.
Well, I am enjoying the whole business with Big E and Apollo Crews. They really made something out of nothing with these two. And I would believe they probably put these guys in a room and go, give us something. More than the writers doing it, because there's very much more of an original thought than anything we've seen in a while. And the whole thing with the Nigerian heritage and playing off their real lives, it translates well. It translates great. I personally have met Apollo Crews and talked to him. This was while I was working at the airport, and I know that he's legitimate Nigerian. I've seen his real name, I can't pronounce it, but having them guys playing out their real stories, it makes it better. And so the whole rivalry is taking a new level. It's much better than it was when he was Happy Apollo. Just please give me a shot, please give me a shot. And now he's coming out and he's demanding it. He's changed his gimmick. The accent is still horrible, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll take it. Because we had a great WrestleMania match. I enjoyed the drum fight. It's a different presentation of a street fight, but they got past that, and the match was actually a banger. It was one of my favorite matches of WrestleMania, and so I'm looking forward to those two continue what they're doing because they actually work well together, and the storyline kind of feeds itself, and those are the two perfect guys to build each other up. So here for another match with those two. Kevin and Sammy is always good, and now you got Aziz in there, and it's a curious thing with all these the giants that are being installed into these shows now. You got Aziz on this side on SmackDown, and then you got Almost over on Raw, and I'm rooting for them both being in the Royal Rumble next year. End up standing against
Take out each other.
Right. It's like I'll pay to see that fight. But these are curious storylines, and they're looking good. So I want to see another Big E match with throwing in another wrinkle or two. But these guys are doing a great job, so I want to see more of it.
And plus, I think the Big E Kevin Owens stuff, I think that could be good for Big E. You have Kevin Owens giving him the rub.
Right.
Two faces going against each other, but you could still have them both wanting the IC title. So we could do a triple threat down the road, or fatal four-way with Sami Zayn, and then you have the commander on the outside, watching all of it. So I feel like all four of these guys are helping build that IC title to back on some level where it should be, and all of them want to. We know how much Kevin Owens is as a fan of the old school stuff, and Sami Zayn is obviously too. So it's really cool to see them all be in that IC title picture. One other promo to talk about before we get to kind of the final matches. Aleister Black is back.
Hey, about time.
With I don't know where this is going. I mean, he could definitely tell story. That's the thing. I think he's got that look. He could go in the ring. You know, he has a way with his words. I just don't know what, like, you know, do we have somebody be a father character for him? Because he's talking about this father, you know, figure. So that's what's interesting, I think, with it. But I love the little the cartoon animations that they created for it. I mean, that's probably why he wasn't on TV forever. They're probably working on this, I guess. But this feels like something for him. I just don't know how soon it will come to the roster. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like how many weeks are, you know, it's just like somebody needs to come knock on my door. I mean, how many weeks did that go on? So I hope that they don't carry it out too long. You know, maybe a month of it, and then, okay, we see him in the ring, or, you know, with, like I said, do we have a father figure character come out with him? Or do we just let him say, I'm using the teachings of this to become this figure? But what do you think, Greg? Is it a step in the right direction for Aleister Black?
Well, anything's a step in the right direction compared to what he was devolving into the last time we saw him, becoming a weird disciple of Seth Rollins and almost putting Dominic's eye out. I'm a huge Aleister Black fan. I was there for his first match in WWE when he debuted at NXT Takeover, the WrestleMania 33 weekend. I was there, and he had a match against Andrade, which was a great match, his debut, and he was so great in NXT. And then when he came up, they didn't know what to do with him aside from the cool entrance. And so he's been off screen for quite a while. I've lost track of how many months, but every now and then, you know, you think, what's going on with Aleister Black? The guy's too good to be not on TV as a babyface or as a heel, to add some depth and a match that's different, you know, with his style and his look and things he can do. If I was going to pass off Undertaker's supernatural presence to anybody, it would have been to him, because I think he could have legitimately pulled it off, more so than possibly even Bray Wyatt. But you know, he's been away long enough for us to, you know, remember, you know, to put aside the whole Seth Rollins portion of his WWE life and kind of revert back to, you know, the kick-ass Aleister Black from NXT, and that's a good thing. So I'm hoping that this new angle pays off. It was odd, but Aleister Black is odd. So it's all going to be defined in the translation. If it ends up being really good, you know, that's all you can ask for. Something you can sink your teeth into, because they've tried and failed on quite a couple recent attempts. My first thing that comes to mind is Ember Moon. Her whole package coming back was phenomenal. The trailers were phenomenal, and then she's still coming out with furs with bottled pot tabs on her gear. And I'm just shaking my head, no, that's not what I wanted. And so I'm hoping that the recreation of Aleister Black is better and presented better. The vignette was interesting. It made you think. It brought more questions than answers, but that's what it's supposed to do. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, you know, we see something that you know, we can enjoy and we're not left shaking our heads again.
And he, like you said, I think from just, you know, his Twitter feed, he does seem like a different thinking guy. and he is a little bit out there. But hey, he got Selena Vega to fall for him, so that must have been something. And we all know how attractive she is. So hey, he might have been what do they call hitting out of your league or whatever you know.
Right.
But anyways, once again, I'm leaving real life stuff. But the Mysterio family defeated Otis, Chad Gable. They're probably gonna get the tag team titles because, the Dirty Dogs. I still can't believe the Dirty Dogs are champions, and we don't even, they got T-shirts, but they don't sell them on WWE. So there you go. That says all we need to know about that.
Right.
So, are you in agreement that the Mysterio family will take off the tag team titles of the Street Profits, the Dirty Dogs of Robert Roode and Chad Gate? I'm getting all of them mixed up. Sorry, Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. I'll get it right eventually.
Yeah, I believe it that Mysterios are going to get it, and it's very telling that the Dirty Dogs don't have merch because they're not going to last long enough to make you want any merch because the Mysterios are going to end up getting the titles. I wasn't happy with them beating the Street Profits because those are my guys, but it makes more sense that the Mysterios beat them to take the titles than beating the Street Profits. So, upon further review, I'm fine with the Profits losing last week because, they'll bounce back from that. But, it's a perfect setup for the Mysterios taking the titles at Backlash.
And I guess we did have a backstage promo with the Street Profits and the Dirty Dogs, which led to Bayley out there, which led to Bayley talking trash about Bianca Belair because she is getting a title match, by the way, at WrestleMania Backlash. I wonder how Sasha feels about that because we haven't seen Sasha on TV for a couple weeks. So Bayley was talking trash. Montez Ford happened to be with his phone. And I love, she's like, I'll be right there. And then the next segment, she's there. I was like, wow, that's a quick trip. She must have been in another side of the arena or something. But anyways, I just kind of love that, I'm like, you really tore away the real life aspect of that. I guess technically she could have been in the locker room, but whatever. Bayley, who, like I said, is getting a title match against Bianca Belair. Do we see Sasha wreck that?
I think so.
Within the next couple weeks?
The only reason that Sasha's not there is because she still has to stitch herself back up from being chopped in half by Bianca's braids. Holy cow, we heard that smash.
She still got the braid burn.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. I mean, everybody up in the rafters in that stadium heard that ringing in their ears. I was surprised that it wasn't a Mortal Kombat fatality where they're being just completely sliced torso from her legs. That was amazing. But, yeah, I'm sure she's still licking her wounds from that. Expect to see Sasha next week either. But, yeah, it fits that Bayley was going to be the next one to come out, but Sasha's not going to let that slide. So once we get to Backlash, that's where we're going to see her pop up and get involved. And like the Asuka and Charlotte business over on Raw, it's going to happen with Bayley and Bianca, and they're going to end up having a triple threat over at SummerSlam, I believe, because I think that's the payoff for Bayley sitting out of WrestleMania and just doing the whole, sneaky commentator bit. So I think that's where we're going with that. It's going to end up being. And I forgot about
Carmella. I mean, I guess over the summer we could throw Carmella and Bianca in a feud if you want to save, your bigger time stuff. Because Carmella just lost her tag team partner of 1 week, Billy Kay. Anyway, yeah, we already went over that last week. So I'm curious to see if Carmella will find herself in that title picture as well. Kind of give some new names. So Roman Reigns came out and laid down a high stakes challenge. He said, I'm not going to fight Cesaro, but he wants to fight Daniel Bryan. And I believe this is going to happen next week, where Roman Reigns, if he wins, Daniel Bryan goes away until when he comes back. And if Daniel Bryan wins, obviously he wins. So obviously that's going to end in shenanigans because I don't think we're going to write off Daniel Bryan yet.
No. They have the whole thing with Roman tapping out earlier to build on. If Daniel gets a little too in the weeds, or more likely Jay gets involved, then there's going to be all the characters from the outside coming in. Cesaro may do a run in and to stop it. We still haven't seen Edge pop up yet, and I think we're going to be due for that pretty soon. So yeah, there's no way that this high stakes deal is going to come to any type of clean resolution. There's definitely going to be some more layers of the onion peeled back and just adding to the whole storyline. This is just another way of getting there.
And probably telling that Roman to even mention Seth. Because I've seen some people run with the idea that we could see Seth and Roman at WrestleMania 38 at Texas, which I think would be that'd be interesting to see, because I feel like we'd have to put Seth back. If we're going to keep Roman the heel, you're going to put Seth back in a face role against, in that, idea. But pretty telling that we didn't have Roman even mention Seth, so you leave that open as well. So we got a freaking blooming onion happening here. we got the Outback, special, because and we still have Jimmy Uso somewhere. Remember, Jimmy Uso was supposed to come back to before WrestleMania to give a promo, but he hasn't been since. So we could still have Jimmy come out there to wreck Jay. We could have Daniel Bryan. We could have Daniel Bryan lose and maybe gets off TV for a little bit. That does keep him home through summer. Maybe shows back up at SummerSlam. I mean, I don't, if he's going to do a part-time schedule, it could make sense. And then you have Roman saying, I put Daniel Bryan away for good. And then maybe Daniel Bryan does come back down the road. So it could happen. Well, I do think we're more shenanigan-based right now. I'm not ready for Daniel Bryan to go away because I think Daniel Bryan's doing some of his best work right now. So part of me doesn't want Daniel Bryan to go away. But then again, with that aspect added in, you could do it then it gives Cesaro nobody else to kind of fall back on. So it has Cesaro on his own trying to go at it. But SmackDown was in a step in the right direction, I think. I thought Raw and SmackDown, it felt like these shows were what we wanted last week. So, yeah. Anything else to add from Raw or SmackDown? And then we'll take a little commercial break for our mouths to get ready for the AEW NXT talk.
No, it's definitely looking very positive with both brands. They've got some really good-looking things going on right now. I think they're a couple weeks behind as far as these stories should have been launched sooner, but I'll take it right now because we can see the story unfolding, and that's what we're here for. That's why we watch this. So yeah, I'm in for it.
All right, let's do a little quick commercial break for some realty talk from Sean Nugent, and then we'll get you back for our NXT AEW wrap up.
What is up, everybody? It's your boy Dan over at BWSports1.com and Black and White Sports. And I'm wondering if you're ready to buy or sell that home, now's the time, and I got just the person for you. Mr. Sean Nugent, a.k.a. Rockstar Realtor himself. 317-503-8322. Put that home on the market. Get into your dream home with this man. Talk to Sean at Talk to Tucker today, 317-503-8322, and make sure you tell him the boys over at BWSports1.com sent you.
And we are back, ready to go, rock and rolling on a Saturday afternoon. It's kind of dreary here, but we're ready to give you the best in wrestling talk. So, NXT, just a good show. Like I said, I love that we separated the nights, and both shows, AEW and NXT, saw some uptick in audience. So that shows that people want to watch these separately. I think it says a lot because like AEW hit over 1 million viewers and NXT, was right at that 800,000. So it's showing that people don't want to split up their time. We want to focus on one. We want to focus on the other. And I thought there was a really good focus on Kyle O'Reilly on NXT. We saw him, talking up stuff. Cameron Grimes came out there trying to give him, an ally, and Kyle O'Reilly dropped him, and then he defeated Cameron Grimes in the main event of NXT. So, Greg, where do we think Kyle O'Reilly's headed right now? I'm personally thinking North American title would be a better fit for him right now.
You mean Cool Kyle?
Cool Kyle. Cool hand Kyle.
All right, we've had, 2 weeks since Stand and Deliver, and that's the best we came up with is Cool Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
So hope they flesh that out a little bit more, but liking the new presentation at least, not the new nickname. Getting the promo was really good. I like the way he presented himself. In the 3 years since the Undisputed Era came on to scene, we hadn't seen any glimpse at this kind of the guy he is. So I'm enjoying getting to see, the same guy, new character, and his, kind of standalone thoughts, and get more of a personality out of him. So, I was, glued to the screen just to see that. The segment was good. Him and Grimes. Grimes is a perfect foil for him, right out the block, and they had a banger of a match. He enjoyed it really. It was really good. Best match of the night, in my opinion. And where does he go? North American title sounds like the best idea. Him and Gargano, I'm sure, could have amazing matches. They've crossed paths plenty of times before. Gargano was in DIY, and they would put down a phenomenal championship match. I could see a takeover, maybe not the next takeover, but takeover after. Give it time to breathe and build. But I think that's definitely where Kyle could go. Give him some singles wins. Let us see what he can do, what is new. I guess he's going with that whole knee drop off the rope as the finish, as his finish move. Makes sense. It's what he took out Cole with. It's not my favorite, but we'll go with it. Just give him poetic license, and it's all about the presentation. If you can make it believable, make it good, then we'll pretty much buy anything. So I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Kyle so far, but I want to see him get some more singles matches in, and go from there. But I agree with you that North American title does look like the logical next step.
Even if it's a short run, it kind of builds it up to that next level. So, and then did I miss if Bobby Fish, is he hurt or something? I know we just haven't.
Bobby Fish got injured after, I want to say after War Games, but.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, he got injured War Games, and we haven't seen him since.
Okay. Now, be interested to see if he ever, if he kind of plays a part in any of this, because he didn't play a part, unfortunately, during the Undisputed breakup stuff. So, and then Roderick Strong, do we think he shows up on SmackDown or Raw?
That makes sense.
Since he resigned from NXT.
Right. He doesn't really fit anywhere in any of the title pictures or with any other talents aside from his wife. And so I can see them doing it like a repackage of him and bring him up to the main roster, and he could be a different type of character, different presentation. So I think he needs it at this point because he doesn't really fit anywhere in NXT anymore. But he's a great
SmackDown seems like. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I enjoy his matches. He can really go. So he would definitely be an asset on either of the main roster shows.
And it seems like SmackDown would be a better fit for him, just kind of basing on the guys that are there. But I almost wonder if they'll put him on Raw to try to build his name a little bit, because they always consider Raw the A show, which it isn't anymore. But, that's still their thinking. So, LA Knight defeated Dexter Lumis. We did not get the kiss around the world or kiss heard around the world yet, but we are totally going to get that sooner rather than later, and that will be on all the social media. But I thought LA Knight picking up the win was good for him. We kind of, I think it's way too early to say he's treading water, but he was built up as such a big guy, a huge name. He's going to just start picking up wins. So, and then I just know how Dexter Lumis, like I always think about the next level. Dexter Lumis never talks. He never does, maybe this whole kiss with Indy Hartwell will open him up and we'll see the next layer of his character evolve. So I know you're not ready for that kiss, Greg, but any thoughts on LA Knight and Dexter Lumis going at it?
I agree with you. I think that Dexter and Indy are going to be the Mandy and Otis of 2021. And we may get to the delay of the kiss until we get a real crowd, not just the Performance Center cast-offs in the audience, get a real audience and pay it off. So I think maybe get dragged out for maybe another month, maybe 2 months, because I think we'll be back in action as far as being in front of a real crowd very, very soon.
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as LA Knight, I love the dude. I remember Eli Drake. I was watching Impact when he was still hot as Eli Drake and doing the whole business with the dummy button. It was one of my favorite things to watch when I was watching TNA. This was after the heyday when they had, all the, Angle and Joe and the machine guns. And it was on the tail end of its popularity. And Eli Drake, LA Knight's character from TNA, was still probably one of the top 2 things to watch. And his promos were always smoking. He was always cutting people down. His mic work was exceptional. And I was surprised that he's bringing the same lines as he did in TNA over to NXT, which shows that Vince really puts no stock in what he was doing outside in TNA. You've seen they don't even bother changing their gimmick or anything like that. So, which is good because he was great in that persona, and so I'm enjoying seeing him doing it now. I'm just hoping that he can really, show his worth being the, hottest free agent, as they always say when they come over, and get some wins. I want to see him win because I like that, and that's going to lead to him getting more screen time, more mic time, and him on the mic is just money. And those of us, or those people who haven't seen what he was doing in Impact, are going to enjoy it once he does get that, more mic time and get to flesh out his character more. Trust me, it's really good.
Awesome. All right, well, I'm going to combine the tag team stuff here. So we had Grizzled Young Veterans defeat Breezango, and we had Imperium defeating Everrise. It's kind of surprising to me. We have 2 former NXT UK tag teams really doing good in NXT. I guess not a surprise, but, I thought Everrise could have maybe got the surprise win or fluky win because it feels like they're that little engine that wants to go. I did see some stuff that they've done on like Saturday morning with their Everrise Live, and they're trying to get Ciampa on there. And the one week it was so funny, like he was muted the whole time, so he kept trying to talk, but he couldn't get his mic working. Mm-hmm. So I kind of love that stuff. So it feels like they're a comedy group, but they could go in the ring. But Imperium is Imperium. I'm still wondering if Walter will be back on TV with them. It doesn't feel like anytime soon. But, the three of them, Alexander Wolf, Fabian Archer, and Marcel Barthel, right? And then, of course, Grizzly Young Veterans, James Drake and Zach Gibson, getting some good wins. So it feels like, whoever's going to come after MSK next is going to be in that kind of middle level, So any thoughts on the tag team matches, Greg? They're in NXT on Wednesday or Tuesday night.
Yeah, love Imperium. Just their presentation, their wrestling is sound. They tell a great story in the ring, no matter who they're in there with. So I'm always a big fan of theirs. Everrise is the job squad, man. They're not going to beat anybody legitimate for a while. They'll get a fluke win once every 6 months or something like that. But we were talking about jobbers earlier. They are the jobbers. And so they're going to take these L's and they're going to do it the cloudiest way possible. They're going to be annoying. They're going to be over the top. And then they're going to get their butts handed to them. So, but it's better than, putting Ciampa and Thatcher in their place and letting Imperium squash them. So we'd rather see Everwise get smashed than a legitimate tag team, which is, what we're talking about earlier. The Grizzled Young Veterans, like I said, I wanted them to get the tag titles to begin with. I've seen enough of their matches to know they're really, really good. And I love what I see out of them, the promos, the way I think it's Gibson that comes out and does the whole soon business. And I'm still not sick of it yet. I think it's always entertaining. When it comes out, when the mic in his hand, I'm ready for it. And I think when we get crowds back, that they're going to be doing it right along with him. So I want to see them around a while, and I'm rooting for them to beat MSK because I'm still not on the MSK bandwagon yet.
Yeah. And I guess we'll jump there. Speaking of MSK, so we had Cruiserweight Champion Kushida defeat Oni Lorcan. I love that Kushida's kind of doing this open challenge, and he's saying across brands. So I kind of hope that they stick to that, and maybe he shows up on Raw and says, "Hey, I want to, open challenge," and somebody steps up to him or whatever. But Oni Lorcan got a good rub. We know Oni Lorcan could go in a ring with him and Danny Burch. I guess we talked about before. I guess we're kind of breaking up that whole trio right now for the time being because Danny Burch is on the shelf. We have Pat McAfee on commentary on SmackDown, and then we have Pete Dunne just doing whatever Pete Dunne wants to do. So right now, I think all guys separated. I still think it'd be kind of cool if McAfee brought all three of those guys to SmackDown somehow. So maybe that's what we're waiting for, in the fall or something. But Kushida defeated Oni Lorcan. Escobar and Legado de Fantasma came out, tried to take out Kushida. MSK came to the aid of Kushida, so we'll probably get the six-man match next week. Maybe this is a way to kind of get the crowd back behind MSK as well, because like we said, it seemed like the crowd is kind of turning on him a little bit. So maybe with Kushida as a good guy, giving the rub to MSK, that might help them, but then we'll catch up on the women's stuff to finish up. So Kushida, Oni Lorcan, Kushida and MSK, Legado de Fantasma, Escobar. Have at it, Greg. Tell us your thoughts on all that packaging.
I'm digging what Kushida's doing. It's been about time he got the payoff for the great work he's been doing since he came back from his injury. I've loved his presentation, and now he's got the belt, doing the whole open challenge business. And I think he's going to have a good long run because, you just had that whole best technical wrestler match with Pete Dunne. I think that's going to end up where it ends. It's going to come full circle back to that. But I think for the next few months, he's be beating challenger after challenger and proving that he is, the best wrestler fundamentally, technically, and then one night, Pete Dunne's music's going to hit, and now we're going to have our here we go moment. And hopefully that's, when we have a crowd to enjoy it and add another level to that match. The NXT is all about that crowd reaction. And so when that happens and that music hits, Pete Dunne comes out, and they face off again, and that match from Stand and Deliver is going to be amazing. So that's kind of where I see it going. It's going to have a nice, not long, but at least for the next 4 or 5 months, and really build up his legitimacy. So when Pete Dunne comes back out, then we get another classic match. And as far as Legato goes, I'm always going to kind of meh with them. I've enjoyed Escobar. Escobar has been fantastic, but I'm curious to see what's going to happen with them, because I can see them being a team that gets called up. To your point, I'd love to see a moment though where there's a match going in on SmackDown, and Pat McAfee jumps off the table and gets in the ring and starts beating somebody down, and then those guys come out, meaning Birch Larkin and Pete Dunne, and then he just springs the faction on you out of nowhere. That would be highly entertaining after seeing what he's able to do on the mic, and introducing another faction into the mix. So I would not be against that. Where Pete Dunne is lately, but once Danny Burch gets well and we have Oni ready to go, it would be an interesting little swerve to do something like that. And then you have a ready-made faction to take over, SmackDowns. So a lot of interesting places they can go, and then you have another way to add to the commentary, make it more conventional instead of having Pat McAfee sitting back there, because I don't think that's going to last very long. I don't see him as a long-term solution on the commentary desk. So I think that's what's going to happen at some point.
And he's such a busy guy. I just find it hard that he can devote so much time. If they have to, and if they start traveling again, if he has to do college football on this date, he has to do that's a lot of time to ask of your body. So I just hope that they don't, play Men in Black style and McAfee's doesn't even play up to what those three guys are if they come to main roster. If Pete Dunne shows up one day and they just have McAfee play up I don't know who he is, who would have thought, something like that, where we just, especially because we just saw it in NXT at War Games. I mean, that's not long ago, in the WWE fashion, but so women's side of things, we saw Saray make her debut against Zoe Stark. I guess they had a little Zoe Stark won in her first match. They had a little exclusive from WWE showing that. William Regal graded it. And then we also saw a backstage segment with Io Shirai talking. I forget who she was talking to now. Beth Phoenix, sorry. Then Frankie Monet came out with Poochie and introduced herself to Io Shirai. So look, I like Frankie Monet playing up, just talking to every woman and just trying to be better than her. Because then it doesn't leave it. It gives you all kinds of different little avenues to go. She could go against Indy Hartwell, or she could go against Raquel Gonzalez. She could go against Io Shirai. We also had Toni Storm come out and take out Zoe Stark after the match. So now we could have Zoe Stark as Toni Storm. We could have Saray want to go after Toni Storm. So the women, there's different little avenues we're going. So we could kind of let you, Greg, have at it with, what do you think about the women's division, and where are we going? These different little directions we could go with the women's division of NXT right now.
It's really interesting. I love Taya from her runs in TNA and in Lucha Underground. Shout out to Lucha Underground again. Tubi, we're still here for that sponsorship. I'll talk them up every week. But go watch Lucha Underground on Tubi. But love what Taya can do. I gotta call her Frankie now. Every time I see her, I think of Taya. But she is a great wrestler, and I'm excited to see her get in the ring and do what she can do. The Zoe and Saray match, I thought looked better for Zoe than for Saray. I know they wanted to build up Saray, and off that first match, I don't see it. The finish was kind of meh, and of course, Saray won, but I think Zoe Stark looked better than Saray in that match. There was nothing that really stood out about Saray that made me think, okay, this is going to be the next version of Asuka or Io or Kairi. I know they're big on these women from Japan and making them stars over here, but she doesn't jump off the screen like those others did, like Asuka did, like Io does. So I need to see some more matches from her before I can buy in. Plus, they said, and wish they hadn't said it, because once they do it, you can see it. Is that she's only 5 foot tall. It makes me think of AEW as
Rio.
Rio, yeah,
5
feet tall and 98 pounds. It just takes away from her believability. I mean, puts some platforms on her or something, but just don't allude to it at all. You can see she's short. And definitely going to see if she stands next to Raquel or some of the bigger women, but we don't just know that she's that short just to take away some of the illusion of how good she is. I like the promos that they were doing from Japan, where they saw her, back suplexing the girl who was like 3 times her size. Gave her some legitimacy. But I don't see it with Saray yet. Zoe Stark looked a lot better in that match. I think she's the one that they're building her up by tearing her down, kind of. She's taking L's, but she's taking close L's. And so she's going to have that breakthrough moment against somebody at some point. And that's going to put her on the next level. And I like that kind of storytelling. It's that long burn storytelling that NXT used to be famous for, and they've gone off course of that for the last few years. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all pays off. But they got some interesting characters in there, and it's going to be time to reshuffle the deck with Raquel as champion, and getting her a new batch of contenders, and on both sides, the heels and the villains, or the heels and the baby faces, to keep that momentum going. They do have the best women's division in all of wrestling, so they got to keep retooling it, making it better, rebuilding it, and keeping that momentum going. So,
I mean, ultimately, the big storyline is going to be Dakota Kai turning on Raquel Gonzalez, and that moment, like you said, I think it's good. I hope that they got the fans there, so that might help it. But I just wonder if you could hold it out until like a takeover. Maybe Raquel wins a match, Dakota Kai comes out there and just takes her out afterwards. I think that's when you got to pull the trigger on it. And, it's funny to think because it's the smaller girl in Dakota Kai taking out the heavy, but it's just tailor made. I mean, it's right there in front of our eyes. So I think the women's division fun. It is funny you brought up Saray, because as you were talking, I'm like, why am I thinking of Rio from AEW? It's because they look about the same. And Rio never had anything that stood out to me. And it's crazy to think she was the first champion of AEW's women division. Like, I kind of felt like they made a misstep from the beginning, on AEW's side. But and even when you looked at the belt didn't even fit her. Like, it was so weird. Like, anyways, but so I agree with you. I think Saray's got some. She doesn't have a presence yet. It feels like Asuka had a presence. Kairi Sane, and even Kairi Sane wasn't the biggest girl in the fight, but she had this, aura about her because she was the pirate princess. Shirai was just a kick-ass, from the start. So we'll have to see where Saray can go. But maybe a win over Frankie Monet might do it. I think that's what Frankie Monet might be there to do, kind of build, pick up wins here and there, and then also help the women. So that was NXT. I thought, interesting show without Adam Cole there, no Karrion Kross there, no Finn Balor, but, kind of letting the next wave, kind of take things over. So,
yeah.
AEW will finish up with Ricky Starks got defeated by Adam Page with a submission. I don't think we've ever seen Adam Page pull out a submission in my time of watching Adam Page. So that was kind of cool to see something different. And from what I'm reading, it could be Adam Page and Kenny Omega going at it at Double or Nothing. Do you think you want to see that match yet, Greg, or do you think we should let Adam Page keep building to that moment?
I think we need to let him keep building. He's on to something. I noticed the same thing. It's like a submission, okay, and the way that submission is applied, he's got the neck hook and he's got the legs hook. Where's the guy going to go? And he needs to add a wrinkle if he's going to go up against Kenny. And so, moves like that could be a difference maker. So I like it, but I give him some more time to get better, get some more matches in, and figure out what's going on with the whole Dark Order, because that kind of muddies up the thing every time I watch a Hangman match. I don't want to see him with Dark Order, but they're just still in that whole limbo where he's not a member of the group, but they're always there. So what are we doing with that? So let's get that resolved, get that out of the way, and more clearly define what Heyman's doing.
Yeah. Then I'm thinking, I guess tomorrow night we have Impact Wrestling's Rebellion, which is Rich Swann, the Impact Wrestling champion, against Kenny Omega, the current AEW champion, for title. So I'm almost wondering if Rich Swann, he'll probably lose, could he come back at Double or Nothing? Because let's face it, there's been no crossover from Impact other than the Good Brothers. And that's it. And Kenny Omega showing up on Impact Wrestling. There's been no other crossover, which is so crazy because we all were like, oh, there might be some, women's crossover. There might be some tag team, but it's been the Good Brothers. It's like, hey, we know the Good Brothers should have went to AEW, but they didn't because they went to Impact. And we're just going to get them on AEW because we're going to do a partnership with Impact. It's kind of weird. So I do wonder tomorrow night how that will play out for the champion versus champion and what Double or Nothing will do as far as Kenny Omega and his AEW championship. Because right now, I think, honestly, we could go the Moxley, John Moxley well again, but there's no contenders for Kenny Omega. Is there any contenders right now for Kenny Omega, Greg?
Right. Yeah. The whole thing with the Rich Swann, I don't get it. I mean, you have a whole company and your best wrestler is Rich Swann. I mean, I just remember 205 Live Rich Swann, and he was, wow. Is he that much better that he's over in another company, and he still looks like the same Rich Swann to me. And I think there's only one way he's going to go. He's going to, get smashed in about 10 minutes, and Kenny's going to have 2 belts. But I was trying to think if this is going to be a way of AEW absorbing TNA, because we know TNA has had money troubles and they've been they bounce around from home to home, like a stray cat for who knows how long. So I'm wondering if there's something going on with that, with all these two dark shows, and if TNA is going to become like some type of feeder system for AEW, because to your point, there's no cross promotion, but who are you going to bring? I mean, who's still good in TNA? They still have Eric Young, been there, done
hurt.
that. EC3, no, thank you. Even though it might be a little entertaining at first, EC3, nobody has seen him in a while, so he may get a little fresh presentation, but there's nobody notable in TNA to bring over, and that's probably why we haven't seen many people.
That's true.
The women are more interesting than the men. Throw in Deonna Purrazzo into the women's division, or we've seen what Thunder Rosa's been able to do. So I don't think that the issue is that it's been one-sided with the whole cross-promotional thing. It's just that TNA is just so talent deficient that there's nobody worth bringing over, especially not to challenge Kenny. And then as far as who's going to challenge Kenny, it's definitely not going to be Rich Swann. That match is going to be over pretty quick. So you got the usual suspects. You're going to have Moxley. You're going to have, I can see Lance Archer trying to make a run for it. And once the business with the MJF's crew is over, I can see Jericho making another run at it, because now we have another heel at the top, and we've seen Moxley, or we've seen Jericho and Omega in Japan, but we haven't seen it in the States, and that could be a huge draw. So I wouldn't overlook Chris Jericho.
I mean, I almost wonder if we're just going to have Christian Cage challenge Omega at Double or Nothing. Because we did see that very first night that Christian Cage showed up, he held up the title. So I think that might be the way to go at Double or Nothing. Because it gives, Omega could kind of get confident about the win. Maybe, Christian tries to surprise him a couple times, but Omega still picks up the win. Because I think it is too early for this whatever version of Adam, of Hangman Page right now. I think it's too early. But I'm seeing reports that it could be it. Because I think when I want Hangman back in that title picture, I want him to win. I think that, when you pull the trigger on it. So, maybe by All Out, so by September-ish. And if they can get back to like Chicago or something, can you imagine the crowd behind Hangman Page in the right environment with him winning? Yep. Like, it'd be like the Moxley moment. So I almost wonder if Christian Cage might, because we did see, we'll just bring it up now, Christian Cage defeated Powerhouse Hobbs. Anyways, that's all I want to say on that. Like, there's no reason for Christian. I can't even believe Christian is winning matches in 2021 right now. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it was his second match ever, yes, but Powerhouse Hobbs. That match with him
both of those matches have been neither one of Chris's matches were. The Kazarian match was mad. The Hobbs was killing him until he pulled off a fluke. So-called the Unprettier. I forgot what he calls it now. But his matches haven't been good.
Maybe he's just not good.
Bathroom break matches. Yeah.
He's just it's okay. Like, guys wear down. I mean, and think about what he's put his body through. I mean, it's not like his body's that much better than Edge's. I can't imagine, because he went through some of the same hell. Now, Edge did a lot more hell, but it's Christian was still there all those years too. So, anyways, at least I can cross that match off our list of things to talk about. Penta El Zero, Miedo defeated Trent. I think we're going to get a 6-man match there at Double or Nothing. We'll get the Best Friends going against Death Triangle. I think that'll be a good, fun match for those guys. I did want to bring up JR interviewing the Pinnacle because I thought it was interesting that Wardlow got some time to talk because we don't ever hear Wardlow talk. And I thought he actually spoke pretty well on the mic. And, of course, MJF took the time. I think it's interesting that we didn't get the top guys, FTR anytime. Sean Spears got no time at all. He was just in the back. I think he patted somebody's back. I still feel like Sean Spears is the odd man out there. I don't think this is doing Sean Spears any favors. I just don't know what they're going to do with him anymore. But I did think it was kind of interesting that Wardlow got time to talk. So what did you take away from the interview with the Pinnacle, from JR and the Pinnacle, Greg?
Well, it's just you got to spend time to build them up. We've seen them as individuals, but not as a faction. And, they kind of present these guys as the new horsemen, especially with Tully in there. So, the heavy gets the chance to, speak a little bit. And I said Wardlow sounded pretty good. Put a mic in his hands, he can maybe be able to do some things. But think back to, when you did have the horsemen, the two that spoke the most was Ric Flair, which would be MJF's character, and then you had Double A, Arn Anderson. He did the second most, and that would, in this case, be more Wardlow's position. So it makes sense applied to the old school way. So I like it, but you got to keep spending time with them to make them more recognizable as a faction. Inner Circle's been doing it since the inception of AEW, so we see them and we all think of them as a group. And you got to do the same thing with MJF now and his crew.
And then I'll kind of jump ahead to the Inner Circle responding. Kind of hit or miss. It wasn't as strong as their previous one, but it was cool. That was Santana who got the mic time, or no? Was that Ortiz? See, I'm really bad. Was that Santana who got the mic time this time? Or was that Ortiz?
Santana.
Okay, Santana. Okay. And I thought Santana held his own. I love that he was like looking in the camera, like, and you could believe his words. So it's kind of cool to see Santana get some mic time because we've never seen him kind of get that mic time. So Inner Circle, like I said, what did Jake Hager with the straws? And I'm like, nope. That's what I almost was like, this is not going to go good. You had Jericho trying to do the show tune. It was a little more miss this time. Now, we didn't bring up, so Blood and Guts will be a one-match show come Wednesday, May 5th. I'm hearing there might be some tape segments, to kind of, maybe break it up or something. But what do we think, Greg? How are we going to feel about this one-match show? I guess it'll be like watching a movie. They might do some commercial breaks or whatever. But what do you think about this one-match show for Blood and Guts happening on May 5th?
Well, my first question is how in the world they got that past WWE, because this is straight rip-off of War Games.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much they're going to profit out of that, but that's always what I'm curious about. But it's interesting. I hope it's going to be, worthy, because, you can fill an hour with these guys easily, but this is going to be as brutal and bloody as they're leading it on to be. It shouldn't be. So I could see a good half-hour match. We still don't know exactly how it's going to play out as far as the rules, but if it's a straight rip off of War Games, then it can be one fall to a finish and anything goes. So it leaves them a lot of leeway for any shenanigans you want to put in there. I want to see it. I want to see blood and guts, and that's what they're saying they're going to deliver. So I'm all in for it, pun intended. So the whole one match thing is interesting. It's gonna be one episode and the show's over, or they're gonna have like a big boxing match. Where this is the headline event, and they use a couple undercards things to whet the appetite. Have this in and out one match, different concept, but it could pay off if it's done right.
And I guess we will have the whole one, two guys start and they go for 5 minutes. Then you have another. So you'll have some time to fill. But like you said, it'll be interesting to see because, it's not like they're going to all be there. It's not 4 guys in at once as well. So I did think I saw they will have the roof on the cage and they're going to do the pin submission or surrender. But like you said, is it going to be the first team? Or is it going to be maybe like elimination style? So then that way you have 4-on-3 for a little bit, and that fills some time. Then you got 2-on, does that, you have one man standing. But I think they'll do team win. But I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, I've seen people say it's a harken to the old days that WCW used to put on matches like this every once in a while. They used to do a one-off show for a match. So it'll be really, and then I do wonder how WWE's feeling if they're like, well, they called it something different, so we can't. They didn't call it war. It's not like they said Games of War. So, I mean, they gave it a whole new name, so they can't really technically do anything after, you know what I mean? Like, so, and, let's face it, it's Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes, like Dustin Reynolds, like that's the Dusty Rhodes family. So there's probably some trademark with them, but I think it's going to be fun to see. And I was wondering how they would pull it off because it does feel like it'd be a longer match and it needs that time to brew, to really build and bruise. So I think doing it one off and like we said, maybe a video segment beforehand, maybe a interview with somebody leading up to Double or Nothing down the road. But so the women got some time. We had Hikaru Shida defeated Tay Conti. The big news was Britt Baker came out, flashed up to the screen, which it's funny how they bring up the rankings. At first I thought they were really good. It felt like every week, you had Shivani talking about this is where guys are positioned, this is where women, this attack. Now it's just like, well, we're just going to use it when it matters. And of course, you had Britt Baker show herself as number one. So obviously, Double or Nothing. We're going to get Britt Baker. We're going to get Hikaru Shida. That needs to be Britt Baker's moment. I mean, the timing has never been more right for any person in a company right now. If they have Shida win, it's going to be really tough for Britt Baker to get back up any hotter. So, it's a spoiler. Britt Baker's going to win or should win. But what do you think about Conti and Shida going at it, Greg, in that match?
Great match. Probably my favorite match of the show. Great back and forth. Story was believable. And how they went from being, cordial buddy to being, I'm going to smash your face in over the course of the match. It was perfect. And really, really solid match. I give it a good 4 stars on it. Tay Conti is definitely going to be somebody that is going to hold the championship in the future. I love her moveset, her finishers, because I know she has 2 or 3 moves that can, get her to win. So I really like what she's doing. And she'll be champ, but it's all set up for Britt Baker. At this point, she just cleaned out the women's division, and Britt Baker's the last woman standing. And I agree with you. This is her time. They put it off for long enough. And I love Shida. Shida's amazing. She's as Teflon as the women get right now. But the fact that she rarely speaks, and when she does speak, she's only a few words. You need to put more shine on the belt, and just have Shida stand there with her kendo stick and smile is not doing it. You need somebody who's going to be able to get on that mic and rip somebody up. And that's what Britt Baker does better than anybody else in the business. Maybe aside from Jade Cargill, who I'm really get into. But it's definitely Britt Baker's time to take over and, cast another light on the belt and, get some heat on it and get us more interested in the women's division.
And I mean, I hate it because Britt Baker's going to win it. Probably at Double or Nothing with, 2,500 people there at Daly's Place. But man, just think if it could have been back in the old day of Vegas and all that, and crowd behind, and the crowd probably would cheer her, but whatever. At least you get that moment. So, I think it's, and then Jade, obviously she's going to be the crown jewel pretty soon. We all see that coming. And it's interesting with Tay Conti, as her popularity grows, you have Anna Jay coming back from injury, and then you have the Anna Jay, Tay Conti stuff. They could start out as buddy, and then Anna Jay could be like, hey, you took my time. This could have been Anna Jay's spot. So we got a few avenues to go there as well. So maybe the women are finally finding that direction that we've all said they should. QT Marshall, speaking of directionless, QT Marshall defeated Billy Gunn with the help of Anthony Ogogo. We had Dustin Rhodes out there I love the old school, what was that brown chair, and he hit it over Booger. I'm going to call him Booger because he reminds me of Booger. But Cormoto. And then Aaron Solo was out there. He got taken out. But obviously we're going to get, old versus new there at Double or Nothing. But QT Marshall wins. Lastly, at the end of the night, I started to say Gigi Allen. I'm sorry. Darby Allin defeated Jungle Boy in a great match. But we saw Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page stand tall at the end of the night. We had Lance Archer out there. I think we had Sting out there. So kind of interesting that Scorpio Sky, who, we've seen them build up, and then I think the pandemic hurt him, unfortunately. It hurt a lot of guys, and then Ethan Page, who we said, well, where's he at now? And now he shows up at the end of the night. So you feel like one of these guys is going to take off that belt of Darby Allin down the road. But what do you think of the whole ending of AEW? And then we'll wrap up the show here, Greg.
Interesting. Again, like you said, great match with Jungle Boy and Darby Allin. Really, really enjoyed it. It just shows that it doesn't always have to be good guy or bad guy. When the two favorites go against each other, you get a really banger of a match. That was definitely a pay-per-view level match that those two had, and great finish. And then Scorpio and Ethan Allen jumping in at the end, further entrenching themselves as despicable heels. I like it. I wish they stayed as individuals, but depending on how they present it and what they do with the opportunity, I'm open to it. These could just be like the two best friends who watch each other's backs, and it's just the classic old school rule breakers. I'm enjoying what Scorpio Sky's doing because he's as good as anybody on the roster, and he's got adopted the heel hook as a finisher now, and that's much more of a heel type finishing move. I like watching what they're doing as a deviance from what they did when they were favorites, and it's going to take more than a mean scowl. So in fact, he's a little bit more aggressive, and he's changed his finisher to a heel hook, which if you felt the heel hook, it sucks, and it could do legitimate damage. I watched enough UFC and martial arts and participated in enough of it to know that it is no fun, and you can just doing it wrong a little bit can lead to a serious injury. So I like a move like that being, your go-to, it adds a lot more more drama, more seriousness in the match. So I would look forward to seeing him and Darby down the road. I don't know what Ethan Page does yet. I didn't watch his previous work. I just know he's got credit as being like one of the top guys from outside of the WWE AEW sphere. So aside from the one match he had when he came in, I haven't seen anything about him, so I'm reserving judgment on him. But Scorpio and Darby, I'm all for it. So that would be another great match for Double or Nothing. So look forward to that. End it great, and seeing what happens from here.
And I do think we got the whole Scorpio Sky Ethan Page. We don't know who's going to turn on who. You feel like one's going to stab the other's back for the title, but we don't know which direction it will go. So that's kind of cool. As far as me and Ethan Page, I know I saw some of his stuff from Impact Wrestling. He was probably there the last year. He did some Johnny Karate guy type stuff. And it was like he'd be Ethan Page, the wrestler, and then he'd be the karate guy. And he literally was just a old school, like the black pants and then like a headband. It was kind of weird. But anyway, so it seems like he's trying something different in AEW. I'll just say that. He's got a big YouTube channel too. So there you go. Once again, it all goes back to building your brain outside the ring. But anyway, so Darby Allin, I'm loving what they're doing with Darby. We said it before. You got to give him some single wins because then whatever guy beats him, it feels legitimate. It might be Lance Archer, but and if I like Lance Archer being involved because it's like he wants to help Darby in a way, almost to protect Darby to get that title. It's almost like friend of the enemy or whatever. But so we got Lance, and then we also have the Sting factor where we saw Lance Archer want to maybe go after Sting, but maybe he's going to use Darby to get at Sting. So there's different avenues and directions we could go with all of it. So that's all I got, Greg. Any other thoughts you want to share, or we wrapping it up?
Yeah, for now, just total nonstop action. We enjoy it, and looking forward to being back next week. More big stuff going on, and be looking forward to chopping it up with you, man.
Of course, and we have a week from Wednesday will be the Blood and Guts, so we'll still have that week after. So that's gonna be the fun. I'm really interested to see how they'll pull it off because, like we said, one match, it'll be like watching a movie, type deal where, will they do picture? Will they go commercial break stuff? So hopefully it's limited commercials if they do commercials because I feel like it's going to take away from some of the action. But anyway, so thank you for watching. Keep liking, subscribing, commenting, give us some love, do what you do. Go follow BW Sports 1. Of course, you're finding this on the YouTube. BW Sports 1 on Facebook. They got everything covered for you. They'll have all the draft needs because the draft is this week for NFL. They got basketball with the Dukes of basketball going at, the state of basketball going at it. Dukes of NFL going at it. Combat wrestling. You got Superkickin with Steven. Checkers and Records. Positively positive with Monica P. There is all kinds of stuff on BW Sports 1 for all your needs. So keep liking us. Get us shoot to the moon, in the words of Cameron Grimes. So thank you for watching. And until next time, talk to you guys later.
Thanks, guys.